Hello, happy Wednesday, third grade. So today we're going to be introducing historical fiction. So today we'll just be talking about it, introducing it, and then tomorrow we'll be doing an IXL standard for homework. So an historical fiction is a made-up story, so fiction means it's not true, but it could have happened in a real time and placed in the past. So it's a story that could happen. It could have happened in the past, but they didn't write it based on anything, so it's still fiction, which means it's not real. So let's read an example and go over some questions. All right, so we're going to read the story today, A Refuge from the Storm. So Jason had set out on horseback early in the morning. He was intent on finding food for his family. His family was new to the area, having just arrived from Boston. They had a land claim and were beginning their own homestead. It had been a long trip and the family was exhausted and hungry. Jason knew that a deer or other large animal would bring great satisfaction and relief to his family. So again, it's before they had cars, so we know that it was in the past. Jason climbed off his horse and crept over the side of the hill. He gazed down the hillside, looking for large game. He did not see game, but what he saw was a huge, dark cloud. Jason realized he'd better take shelter quickly. He led his horse to a nearby cave just as the rain came crashing down. Jason crouched down, waiting for the rain to stop. He worried that he would not have time to catch some food before he had to head back. He had promised to be back before dark. Suddenly, he found himself impatient and angry. Why couldn't the rain stop? A cool breeze of wind went down his neck. Jason heard a noise over his shoulder. He slowly turned to see a large animal staring at him. It was a deer. The deer had gone for shelter too. Jason wasted no time killing the deer and readying it for the trip home. This is just too good to be true, thought Jason. At that moment, it didn't mind how long the rainstorm lasted. So he found safety from the storm, refuge from the storm, in a cave. And we know this was before there were any cars because he was riding horseback on his way. And it said beginning his own homestead. So we know this is the past. Now, is this based on a true story? No. But could this story actually have happened? Yeah, it could happen, but this is a historical fiction where Jason might not be a real person. They made this person up and this story, but it could have happened at some point. So now let's go over some questions and some answers. So which sentence contains evidence that the story takes place in the past? Okay, and something important to know before we answer this question is back in 1862, there was the Homestead Act, which encouraged people to move out west. So they had land claim and they were beginning their own homestead. So this one, we did need a little background of history. So if we looked at the other ones, his family was new to the area, having just arrived from Boston. That doesn't really mean the past at all because someone could be traveling from Boston to White River and it could happen today. And they had a land claim and were beginning their homestead, so that would go with our Homestead Act. Suddenly he found himself impatient and angry. That can happen to any of us today, so that wouldn't mean the past. And Jason had set out on horseback early in the morning, and that can also happen today too. So the only one that really makes sense, which this would be a difficult answer, would be B, and that goes with the Homestead Act. And that really means it happened in the past. So now which paragraph explains the circumstances in which Jason's family was living? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 paragraphs, and we have to figure out which one talks about how they were living. So now it says they moved to a new area, having just been from Boston, and they were going on a long trip. So this kind of shows about how they were living, and everything else is talking about the storm coming and Jason going into a cave and finding a deer. So our answer for this one would be the first paragraph, because it was talking about the family's travels. And for the third one, we're not going to answer. We're just going over today introducing historical fiction. So remember, historical fiction is a made-up story that could have happened in a real time and place in the past. So is it a real story? No. But could have happened? Yes. So again, we're going to have an Edmodo quiz just asking to describe what historical fiction is. Remember, it is a made-up story that could have happened in the past. All right, and tomorrow we'll go over some examples of our IXL homework and practicing reading historical fiction. Bye, third grade. See you tomorrow.